Hello and welcome to this edition of Community Voices Uganda on Civic Space TV. I am Phillip Muliisa. On this episode, we discuss the present but also looking into the future as we talk about children. And we know many of you out there call them a couple of different names. I hear people call them flowers, people call them gifts from God, people call them the bundles of joy, and very many other terms you use to talk about your babies, your children, and the young people of your community. And here we are to discuss something that relates to that bundle of joy. And our topic today is the community role in protecting children against disease. And joining you in that conversation is a panel of distinguished citizens of this country who are serving both at community level but also the country in line with children and family. And I will introduce them just briefly. I have Senior Superintendent of Police Jackson Mucunguzi. He is from the Child and Family Protection Unit of the Uganda Police Force. Afande Mucunguzi, greetings. You're welcome to the conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Philip, for this opportunity. And indeed, warm greetings from Uganda Police, especially the Inspector General Police, my line who deals with community policing, that is AMD World Gamunova, and in particular, the Commissioner in charge of Child and Family Protection, Madam Maureen, and myself, and absolutely from my own family.
Sure. Thank you so much. And we can't wait to hear the experience and activity that happens around that particular department, but also the first-hand experience from the family. Thank you so much for joining us. And I also have Madam Grace Atibuni, who is in Arua City. Grace, greetings. You're welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much. As you said, by name I'm called Atibuni Grace, a parent within the communities where we are living. And it's a big pleasure to take part in this conversation because issues pertaining children, actually I normally consider them as a priority in every community where I reach and where I live. So it's my pleasure to be part of this meeting. Thank you very much. I appreciate.
Thank you so much. And indeed later we should be joined by one or two more people, and should they join us, then we shall get to hear from them as and how they think about this particular topic. I want to start with you, Senior Superintendent of Police Jackson Mucunguzi. Look, I am looking at a report here that says from the United Nations Children's Fund, they say about 330 million children under the age of 6 years experienced violence at home in the year 2022. I'm also looking at something different that says, and it is from the World Health Organization, they say close to 1 billion young people, that is between the age of 2 and 17 years, have experienced physical, sexual, or emotional violence in the past 1 year. Not to mention a lot of other stories. For example, when I look at news organizations like Sarah and many others, they talk about violence against children, and we're talking about a time where we have a lot of war going on in the world. When you go to regions of the Middle East, when you go to in the north of Uganda, here in Sudan, when you go to Ukraine, when you go to the DRC and many other parts of the world, there is a lot of things happening that ideally will cause discomfort, that will cause violence and abuse to young people. But before we discuss that statistic and the facts around that, I want you to help us understand what is this animal called child abuse?
I'm not hearing it, oh God.
Okay, thank you very much. As Grace stabilizes, for that insightful details that you have from the international perspective, from the regional perspective, and bringing it back here at Uganda perspective, it is true, children suffer a lot, and it is the duty of everyone to ensure that there is what we call child safety. So child abuse ideally is anything that you do that violates the and the physical well-being of a child. But who is a child? If we go back to the laws internationally, for example, if you can check with the different charters that we have got at international. If you read the UN Convention on Rights of Children of 1989, you see the African Charter of Rights of Children and Welfare. Was ratified in 1990. Then the Uganda National Child Policy of 2016, Education Policy, all that, we define a child as any person who is below the age of 18. Whoever is below the age of 18 is still a child. So child abuse is any behavior or action that harms or puts a child at risk of being harmed. And as you said, Philip, it can be physical, it can be emotional, sexual, neglect, etc. Yes, the statistics we are talking about are real, and it is the duty of me and you and the community to ensure that we protect the rights of these children. Protecting children from abuse is a collective responsibility, not a police work alone, not a work of community alone, not the work of Zoom online world, but it is a responsibility for us all. Because you see, healing from childhood abuse is so costly and it takes time. So we must avoid child abuse because it is the worst scenario that you can subject your child to. If you torture a child and when he grows up, for example, in Uganda, I don't know, 2 days back, we arrested a woman in Masaka who was feeding her poo-poo. Poo-poo is feces on a child. If this child will grow up and will know that this woman was subjecting such torture to a child, he will never forgive that person. So healing from childhood abuse is dangerous. It's high time that parents, we must know. We encourage every child deserves a safe and nurturing environment. The best gift that you can give your children is your time, your protection, and presence. Silence is an option when it comes to child abuse. Some of us who believe in the Bible, personally, I'm a Christian and father. Philip, I believe the gospel in Proverbs chapter 31, verse 8 to 9, it tells us that speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. It is the duty of Philip, of Madame, from Lila, of my friend Madrin, and whoever is watching and following us, speak up for these future heroes. So this is how dangerous child abuse is.
Thank you so much for that insight into what child abuse is and what it actually creates for our children. Grace, I want to join you in Lyra and you talk to me. What is your view of this child abuse, and indeed, what are some of the scenarios you can create for us in your particular location that speak to child abuse in the community?
Okay, thank you. When we look at child abuse, as Afande had put it forward, a child abuse is an activity that when we engage in doing it, it affects our children, majorly activities that are harmful to our children. So these activities, they can affect the growing up of these children. And as he had put it forward, once a child has been abused in whichever form, coming out from that, it will take this child a very long time. And sometimes you'll find that such abuses can even lead to a death of this child. I can give a practical example. There are children in the villages where we come from. They are being starved by food. They are being humiliated in whatever way our neighbors around do, and this child end up living malnourished lives. Even sometimes they are stabbed to death. So these are the child abuses we are looking in our communities where we come from. So I can look at the forms of child abuses. Majorly, I can say we can abuse these children physically, emotionally, sexually, socially, whichever way. So when we abuse these children physically, how do we do it? These are children, we can beat them. Sometimes, we parents, when we are too much annoyed, a child could have done something very simple or slight that you as a parent can handle it in a very soft manner, but due to the anger that we have. So we end up punishing such a child in a manner that ends up being abusive to this child. Emotionally, sometimes we neglect such children. We don't provide for them love. We don't provide for them care, because these children, as Afande had put, and as our relevant laws have put, including the Constitution, Section 4 of the children, the conventions, the African Charter, it puts clearly that a child is a person below the age of 18. So as being the age of 18, we call them tender age, who needs our support in every kind of life. So now, when we look at child abuse, where does it take us? Child abuse affects children a lot in their upbringing.
Thank you, Grace, for that. Thank you for that. And you say things very instrumental there. And you talk about punishment, and I'll pick back on you to detail a little more about the punishing and where we draw the line. But I want to get back to Afande Mucunguzi briefly. Afande, you see, when we talk about abuse, then there must be something being abused. And in this particular case, there is a right being abused. I know we can talk about very many rights of children: the right to education, the right to food, the right to shelter, the right to clothing, healthcare, etc. Where do we draw the line between rights of children, responsibilities of children, and indeed, when does a parent say that now this is beyond a right, I want you to do this, but the child says, oh, it's my right maybe to have to rest, and the parent goes, please, I will punish you, and when I cane you, this is the minimum that is considered legal, and beyond this is child abuse. I want you to help us separate the two. When do I discipline for misbehavior? What is indiscipline on the part of the child? It's quite confusing, especially for the parents out there. Yes, Afande.
Yes, thank you very much, Philip and Grace, for still bringing these insightful issues. Yes, you are asking about the difference, the timeline and the difference between children's right and then the responsibility of parents. Allow me be categorical and clear that the best success that you can consider while on earth as a parent is to raise responsible children. You don't need to be harsh, to be wild, to raise children. I pity those parents who think that caning, giving corporal punishment in large and big sums is a parenting law. These children,
Afande,
yes,
in our of the saying that says, spare the rod and spoil the child. How do you harmonize that?
I know that one. Equally, we are not saying that however much we have the rights, we should spoil the children. Yes, advice and parenting and bringing does not mean torturing. When you go physical, when you go in excessive of psychological, you will be committing a crime. You can raise this child by speaking. You can raise this child by living exemplary lifestyle. Most parents are not living exemplary lifestyle themselves. They just want to dictate. This is not UNEB, Uganda National Examination Board, where you set exam and you expect children to answer. You must you yourself be the answer by living exemplary lifestyle. These children, they watch and copy and paste. So if you are garbage in, they will garbage you out. So we call upon parents that as much as you remind them the law, still they need to keep their mentoring, coaching, and guiding these children. That for a boy to be a man, you must do ABCD, but you must do it within a law. What I can assure you, Philip, and whoever is listening, is that the law outsmarts and outlives culture and religion. We have realized from technical point of view that the three problems of society today are: one, culture. That it is for people, they misuse culture. They think that a parent must beat a child, that a child has no freedom. When a parent is talking, a child should not speak. That culture is awkward, and these children, they know more. The world has become a global village where children understand. For example, with influx and the upcoming of internet, things are different. These children, they are more exposed to even the parents. Then religion. You see, even religion was children. You remember when Jesus fed the 5,000 people? They said they have fed 5,000 people without children and women. That was a discrimination. Yet children were in the audience. So misrepresentation of the religion has caused more harm on children than good. Then finally, the number 3 problem is power. Power is so dangerous in that its major sponsor is money. Having money does not make you become a monster. When people have power, they want to misuse it at family level, misuse it at community level, misuse it at national level and international level. So we say, the Bible tells us that money in hands of a fool is a curse. Kindly do not allow that money to misuse you to violate the children's rights, and you become a problem. You see, we shall know your value and your legacy on your value. The speeches of your children will determine whether you have been a father or a lion at home. So we encourage that they should use the law and their responsibility to do much better. I don't know whether, Philip, I'm in line with what you expected, sir.
Yes, thank you so much, Apande, for that, and we pick quite a lot more from that as we continue with the conversation. Grace, look, you talk about
Philip,
excuse me, Philip. Talks about responsibility and rights. You can hear me, Grace?
Kindly, Philip, you are not very clear. I'm not getting you clear, but I was getting Afande very clear.
What are the risk factors for these different forms of abuse you talk about? You mentioned
you are cutting. I think your network. Kindly, you are not clear.
All right, thank you so much. Let me try to see how we clear your sound. You are using, sometimes earphones are not so clear for Zoom, but I think let's try to reconnect and see how we improve on that. And as we really clear the things with you, Grace, let me welcome Molly Busingye on the conversation. Molly, you're welcome to the conversation. How is you out there?
I'm okay.
Yes,
I don't know that it's a must. Should I use a video? Because I don't trust the video. They compromise the sound.
It's a comparison.
Okay.
And okay. You try to join us.
Okay, I don't. If you see me, you tell me. But I don't know how. I think it needs some setting, please. Let me just speak without a video, if it is okay.
All
because
right,
I said.
Do this.
Yes, you are asking me something.
Yes, as you do the setting and trying to connect so well, I want to ask or pick your view about child abuse and talk about how it prevails in your community and what are the most common forms of child abuse in your community.
Okay. My name is Busingye Kateihwa. I am a counselor. I'm also a midwife. I work with membe-Arua Referral Hospital under the Department of Maternal Child and Health. And the child abuse, like Afande had said, and my sister, it is any action that harms a child, either mentally, physically, psychologically, socially, and all the other forms of abuse. And we see, I was reading from the statistics, I saw that 35% of girls and 17% of boys have experienced sexual abuse during their childhood. And the 59% of girls and 68% of boys have faced physical abuse. So we see that even the ratios are very high. And when it comes to even other departments like child marriage, we see that 4 in 10 women aged 20 to 45 are married by age of 15. And at least 1 in 4 teenagers are either pregnant or have a child. And then the other thing is 93% of rural children are engaged in agriculture and other activities of child labor. So we see that the rates are really high. And even when we see in our communities, like you asked me that what types of child abuse that I see in my community specifically. I stay in Kamukuzi, Bara. One of the things I see is child neglect, where you find that children are just languishing around the bars and shops, even early in the morning, and even late in the night, at around 9. Children who are going to school, we expect them to be sleeping at that time, but you find a child is still seated in front of the shop. And then you inquire and ask, what is the problem? Who is that? I'm at home alone. Where is mommy? I don't know where she has gone. So those are some of the things, the types of I can see neglect, I can see psychological, I can see physical is not common, but emotional. I see emotional and psychological and child neglect in my community. Those are the ones which are very prominent that I face every day, and try to engage with the parents and caregivers on how we can see that this is worked out.
Thank you. And you talk about that physical is not very common, but you talk about emotional and many other forms of, you talk about neglect. When do we say that, because look, we are living in a capitalized world where parents have to fend, get money, and provide for the needs of these children. When you say you see many of the kids moving around during the night, don't you think these parents are just trying to find money to make sure they provide for these children, and indeed maybe the children are the ones that are not taking their responsibilities so serious? Yes.
Philip, I'm not getting you completely.
You can mute if you're not talking, please. Yeah, of course, I know that parents are busy looking for money, but like Afande said, that there is no gift you can ever give your child better than your presence, your emotional support, and your love and care. Yes, I know we need money, and we are living in a society which is where the socio-economic challenges have gone up. Money has become a god, like Afande has said. And all these abuses, like you were saying, they are all backed up by money, because we have seen cases where even a person reports a case and then it is it meanders behind the corridors and it disappears because of someone giving a bribe or kintu chidogo, like they say. But as a parent, your first primary role are your children. Your success, like Afande has said, there is no success I would ever have, even if I go and get the accolades, like how many, but when the time will come when I need to go back home. When you go back home, where will you go back to if you have not built a strong family? Because even when we go and work like we are working, the basis of everything is our families. So we must invest so much in our families and in our children more than how we need money. We must find a way, a balance, how you can get either job or maybe a business or do something, but you know that this something that you're doing, it is bringing money, but at the same time, you have time to engage with your children. Right now, as parents, for us, we're already living in our future. And these children that we're talking about, they are the future of tomorrow. These are people who are going to be looking at us tomorrow. So the way you look after them today will determine how they will look after you tomorrow. If you mistreat them, neglect them, and leave scars of emotion and psychological trauma, because when we talk about trauma, what are we talking about? Abuses leave an emotion and psychological scar that will always remind them of what happened. I got burnt when mommy had gone to look for money. The maid beat me and broke my leg. That's why I'm lame, because my parents were not there. So these are pains that they will live with all their lifetime. So that's why it is very important for us as caregivers to make sure that we protect these children from those internal long-term pains that will even affect their future, because that means that even this child, when they grow tomorrow, these are the kids we are seeing who are being abusive in their families. Their husband, they are abusive. You find their parents, they are abusive. They are into drugs. They are crime rates. Like I found that one must be having even higher rates. So the effects, you might not see them today, but the effects are busy growing. And remember, when these things take root in our hearts, when they start coming up, it is like when you plant a maize, you plant one, but when it grows, you will have like 10 maize, and those 10 maize will have seeds which are almost like 200. So you might not see the effects of what is happening today, but I can assure you that the pains of child abuse, they come with a lot of side effects in the future, both to the person who was afflicted, to the community, and to the nation. Thank you
so much, Molly, for that really good submission. Grace, can you hear me now? I think Grace is still having some challenges, but let's try to correct them as I go back to Afande Jackson here. Afande, from the enforcement point of view and indeed the investigations, the evidence you look at, and entirely about how you monitor the situation, what are some of the most common causes of violence against children in our communities here?
Yes, Philip, did you ask about causes or common cases?
Causes of the abuse we see in the communities, and I know we've talked about very many of the cases. We talk about the physical, the neglect, we talk about the psychological. What is causing these challenges in our communities?
In my opinion, many people commit crimes because of different reasons, but I will not go away from the social cultural factors that condone violence against children. There are some communities that have culture and practices that undermine the well-being of children, that it is normal to torture, to mitigate, to punish, to name shame children. So these social cultural factors have taken children advantage of, and it is very dangerous. We can go further and think about the patriarchal society with power imbalances, where they think that a father is a king, a child should not speak. It is not written anywhere, by the way, that you cannot dine with your children. Most children eat from the kitchen. They have theirs dining. Yet we know that when you want to hear what is affecting a child is when you are eating together. There is a proverb where they say that when you want to scramble and partition the property orphan, you bring that orphan within your legs. But when you distance, you will not know what he's thinking. So before you deal with the orphans by bringing them closer to steal their property, can you bring your children closer and you tell them your vision, your mission as a father, as a commander of your home? Where are you taking them? Are you leading them by luck or by choice? Then we have the traditional practices. If you hear about, I can use the example of my sisters and brothers in the SSP community, where they do female genital mutilation in Western Uganda. My fellow believe that a kid should eat chiboko in kilograms. That is torture. So those traditional practices cause more harm than good. Then we have the influence of religion and mental illness. Mental illness is very serious. Yesterday, did you see people fighting in parliament? Don't think that it is a fashion. Person who is supposed to be honorable is doing now, is becoming horrible. When you see those in authority doing contrary, then you know that there is a big problem. So mental illness is real. I'm told that statistics are shooting up. And this mental illness has contributing factors like drug abuse, broken family. Many families, we have many parents who are coming from broken families, and they have ended up in what we call toxic parenting. They do things that do not inspire children, and children copy and paste nonsense. Unfortunately, those who are trying to raise their children in the right way, they will end up in what? They will end up in inspiring and influencing children badly. Single parenting, where some people are single parents by, for example, maybe they lost their darlings, the husband died or the wife died, then it leaves one parent who is always overwhelmed, and he ends up doing what? He ends up doing committing crime against children. Some parents, some men have abandoned their homes. They have abandoned the homes. You find they are in the trading center, married there. Or upon them that they should go back home and look after their children. So you know they are very many malice. Some people even commit malice. They commit crime against children, malice them. The woman we arrested in Masaka were asking, why do you feed someone's child with feces and urine? And we are saying I was paid to malice the child. So then finally I can talk about large families. Africa and Uganda in particular is having very big families. And then these big families, everybody wants to become a commander in someone's family. Do not allow third parties in your family to raise your children. Most children have lost their virginity because of these many family members who come and pile in your home. You help these people in a distance. Do not bring them. Your home is not a refugee center that everybody must come there. Have time for your children. Be nucleus and intentional. Overcome all that nonsense. When you are at home, you are not an afande but a dad. When you are at home, you are responsible for somebody who is looking up to you. Before these children look at teachers and other celebs we talk about, you are the first hero of your children. And therefore, be responsible and know that they are looking after you. So I don't know whether I have answered you well, my brother Philip.
Thank you so much, Afande, for that submission. Grace, you can hear me now?
Yeah, I can pick you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I want you to talk to me about the role of children in fighting back against violence against them. What can these children do to see that they are not abused in the communities they live in?
The role of the parents in fighting the abuse of the children. That's what you want me to address?
parents, but more specifically the children themselves.
The role of the parents in fighting the abuse of the children. Okay, thank you. I think we as the parents in our various communities, the role we are going to play to fight against the abuse of our various children, one, we need to sensitize these children about their rights. When we tell these children what exactly their rights are, they will know that their rights are not supposed to be infringed. And in case of any infringe in their rights, they will be able to report to the various authorities. We as the parents, we also have to understand what kind of tortures are these children going through in terms of abuse. So when we look at these children, we examine our behaviors, how we behave to these children. If I'm going offline, you can also guide me. We examine our behaviors towards these children. As we were saying, some of us are single parents in our communities. And when we look at these single children, ourselves as single parents, and we imagine what their fathers have gone to us, they have done to us, it puts us in a way that the way we behave to these children, it's as if it is them who is the cause of our problem. So what I can say is, as with the parents, let us examine our behaviors, how we are going to talk to these children. In case these children do something bad, how do we handle them? Do we use bad voice to talk on them? Do we back at them? Do we yell at them? Then if we yell at them or we back at them, what are they going to grow up in future? Practical example, I had an auntie who one time got a knife because the child was disturbing her and said, "I'm going to slaughter you." And this thing inflicted pain in this child up to the age where this man is. He has never liked the mother because he believed that when I was young, my mother wanted to slaughter me. So those are the ways is that the way how we as the parents are going to bring up our children? Then two, let us also organize community awareness in the various communities where we are. If we sensitize our families, our neighborhoods, where we come from, we organize play groups for our children. That's where we are going to sensitize our parents. Yes, if we organize community awareness as we parents, we are going to sensitize ourselves as parents on how we can stop the abuses on these children. Also, again, we should not give these children hard labor. We as parents, there's a way we treat these children by giving them heavy work. You can see a child who is the age of 5. You send this child to the well, maybe possibly at night or late in the evening because you were hustling in the market. This is the same child who is going out there at the well at the late in the evening, and the people she is going to meet there, you may not know them. So this child ends up being sexually abused. So how are we going to protect them from such cruel instances from other kind of people? So the only thing we need to do is when we are growing up these children, we have a limit such that we protect them in the various ways from the abuses. Then thirdly, I can talk about, what I can also talk about is, as my colleague Molly had said, we should also volunteer our time for our children. We as the parents, we should not pretend to ever be busy, because the moment we are going to be busy, these are children who are going to have other peers. These other peers are going to introduce them to other activities, which in turn will become as an abuse. You see, The community where we are living now, we are mixed up. Most of us are parents, but some are parents who are in turn negative parents to other people's children. There are some people who involve our children in the various villages. They expose them to pornographies, every kind of social immoralities that the children will end up learning. And in this, we find that these are children who are being sexually abused. How are we going to protect them?
Thank you, Grace, for that.
I don't know whether I was in the same line with what you were requesting from me.
Yes, thank you so much. It is rather powerful. And I want to pick from you, Molly. Look, you talk about the effects of this violence and abuse to the children, but I want to talk about the healing. You know, children go through a lot. And we talk about the beating, we talk about the neglect, we talk about the sexual abuse, and so many of these. How then do we assist those that have gone through the abuse, the victims of this abuse, to heal so that it is not a lifetime challenge to them as they grow up? Yes, Molly.
I beg your pardon. You were breaking. I beg your pardon.
Yes, thank you. Talking about the recovery time and activity of the victims. When a child goes through the sexual abuse, the neglect, the psychological torture, how can we assist them as a community to heal so that they don't have to have this burden on their life throughout their lifetime?
Okay, number one, of course, is prevention. Like we normally say that prevention is better than cure. So like now, already we are trying to prevent. I think this dialogue is all about prevention, because when we create awareness, and the awareness both for ourselves, because you see, one of the challenges that we are facing us as Ugandans is because we don't know the law. Uganda has a lot of law, but it is not applicable. And the local man, the grassroots people do not know the law that protects them. That's why you see in Uganda, like Afande was saying, someone can call you, like someone can call me and say, Mother, we need you at police. But in other countries, you can't do that. Even when you come to someone's home to arrest them, they must ask you for arrest a warrant, and the one they say, I would demand talk to my lawyer before I even live here. But here, someone will just grab you on the road and take you. Why? Number one, we don't know the law. So I need, like I said, prevention. Number one, we need to self-educate ourselves about the law as parents, as wives, as husbands, as in our communities. What is the law that protects the children? What does the law say about the children? The other day I was reading about these things that the Afando was talking about, the amendment of 2016 and all those amendments. We need to be in line and know what the law says about children, what the law says about yourself, what the law says about when you're working, what is the law that protects you at your workplace. Because we have companies where you'll be working today and you come tomorrow morning and they say you're no longer here. We no longer want you, and they just chase you like that. So we need, as Ugandans, to know the law that protects us and protects our own. Then the other thing we need also, my sister Grace talked about, educate these children about the law. When they called me to be one of the panelists, I was thinking about my children the other day. They were home and they were disturbing. So I was like, I was telling the young one, saying, I'm going to make you carry a stone on your head. She's like, Mommy, why? Because you're not listening. And she said, Mommy, that is child abuse. Because they taught us child abuse at school. They told us if someone did what, child labor. So that shows you that these children already know that the law that protects them. So that means that child, that kind of a child, you cannot easily abuse her or him, regardless of you being their parent. Can you imagine? So I want to ask, how many of our children or in our communities know the law that protects them? So we must educate our children, sit with your children, like Afande was saying, at home, and educate them about the law. The girls, no one should touch you. If someone touches you like this, it means this, and you are supposed to report. No one should silence you. And teach them the law, because they are going in a society, and this society we are living in today is very corruptive. Our own people, like Afande was saying, our own uncles, our own cousins, our own aunties and relatives are the ones abusing our own children, sleeping with them, impregnating our teenagers, and even manipulating our boy child, having sex with them at a young age, putting them in LGBT these things that also come up. Then the other thing, we need to support the organization working in child care, like how the police, we have offices with the police, the local government, and the other bodies that protect the UNICEF and other bodies that are protecting the children. We need to work with them in our communities. We need to be the agents and campaigns in where you're staying right now. How many of you move from your home and walk in the environment to see and criticize and the secret and see through and see children, see how they are doing, are they abused, see the environment, because we have signs that we can know that some children are being abused. So can you, when you're walking in the environment, when you see your children, do you pick, does that thing touch you to know that I need to raise awareness? Do you talk to their parents and ask why these children are not in school, they are not hiding around? So we must work with organizations which are already established and have support and have funding to support the children against child labor. Then we need to encourage open conversation. We need to encourage.
Are you not asking too much from the parents who we know that many of them are not educated? So if you ask them to teach their children about the law, I'm sure they're also ignorant about this particular law. Is that not too much to ask from them? And even then,
no, because when we do sensitization and create awareness, but like now where I am staying, in my own village where I stay or where I stay right now, it is my responsibility, me who knows the law, to walk around and talk to the mothers, to call those young children and just sit down with them and ask them and educate them and teach them some things. Because yes, they are not, the mothers are not studied, but you can tell them, you can enlighten them that this and this happens. When you do this, this can happen. The law says this, this, and this. And that one gives them some knowledge that can protect them. So it's not too much to ask. The reason why this is not happening is because we are ignorant. We are ignorant. And in law, they say that ignorance is no offense. Because even us who know it, it's not because we are studied too much, but the little we know, we can share with others and create awareness so that mothers, parents can know that there is a law that protects their children. Even when they are going to beat them, they know that if I beat a child and they faint and I break their hand because I was angry, then I can be imprisoned. So they also have something that restrains them back.
Thank you so much, Molly, for that. And I hope we can take on the mantle to teach our peoples about this particular law and the principles of equality and human rights in our communities. Afande, from your department and indeed where you sit as an officer, what chances do the kids stand to defend themselves against violence in any way? Do they even have a right to defend themselves from the abusers in their communities? Yes, Afande.
Yes, thank you very much, Philip, for that question. I want to thank Grace and Maureen for very grateful, insightful discussion that they have shared with us. And if we can understand what they are saying, that is the best way to go. I still emphasize that children, as you are asking, yes, they have a chance. You have heard how Mole was saying, our children were saying, Mommy, no, that is violation of children's rights. So we have done, that one gives me feedback that we sharing more about the children's rights is very paramount, because one of the major functions we do at Child and Family Protection is defending the rights of children. You had yesterday one of the child became a parent in Bukomasindi at 13 years giving birth. And as we are talking, we are hunting for the man who impregnated that child. Yeah, because it means their parents could have been negligent or not there. So when we continue to chastise them, we feel happy. So they defend themselves. Mode said that children defended, and once they do that, the better. But of course, it is at a small percentage, and the more we can sensitize officers and the parents, the better. Children are not a distraction from more important work, but they are the most important work themselves that we must attend to. If we know that they are the most important work, don't be too busy with office work, with work. at the expense of your family. That spouse of yours and your children, they need you. We all leave our work to go and work for these children. So parenting is not about being perfect, but it's rather a decision of being present in their families. Do not buy presents to your children when you are absent. Better be present without presents, without gifts. So when we do that, we can do much better. The best way to make children good is to make them happy. Once you make your children happy, some parents are wild animals. When they reach home, everybody keeps quiet. So when you become a worker of Ghana National Wildlife Authority, when you reach at home and you see there is silence, kindly do monitoring and evaluation, and you know that you have a problem. You should be welcomed by your children. They should be saying, Daddy has come. But when you see you are reaching at home and they are saying, 99 has come, this honorable who punched Zaki is called Boxer has come, they will think that you. So you need to be so serious. So my brother, as you are saying, children are defending themselves. I encourage the parents. You see, for the children, they see and do. Monkey see, monkey do, not opposite. Therefore, have time to pray. The Bible tells us that we fathers, Philip, you are a man. You are the chaplain of your home. Yeah? You are chaplain of your wife to be on one. So you pray, Obasavire, and pray, Zanya, Okuzanya. Pray with your children. Let them be free to report to you. Do not be so distant and think that you have authority and power over them. You are a problem if you are not doing it. Take them out. Children love to be out. Even if you don't have Kampala approaches, the outing you can do, you can even walk around the compound. If you are in our village setup, I can now tell of recent I learned that my father was not serious, but he never took me to walk around with him. So you need to make sure that they are out. You can tell them stories. Never tell my children stories, the olden days stories. Edipado, seek and hide. And they feel happy, they say, hey, baby. So some parents, they think that is wastage of time. That is the only thing that you can do for your children, and they understand you. Not your what? Not your stories. Confess how you love to them. There are some parents who had never told their children that they love them. So, Philip, when did you last tell your daughter or son that you love him or her? So from tonight, when you log out, you tell that child that I love you, and he will be surprised. You say, wow, Daddy, you have said this. The Bible tells us that confession is a possession. And from there, as we move forward.
Thank you so much, Afande. And indeed, we should normalize telling our people that we love them. And I hope every other person on this conversation, and indeed the viewers, will continue to share their love with their families, their children, their wives and husbands, and everyone that is around them. Very important. Thank you so much for that. Grace, as we near the close of this conversation, these challenges are with us anyway. How can we make sure that going forward, we no longer have to be discussing child abuse? We discuss children who are responsible, like Afande told us. We discuss children that are growing so well. We discuss children that do not have trauma from childhood and so many other related circumstances. In other words, how do we make sure we eliminate this vice from our community? I think Grace is unable to hear me right now, but we're going to check on her to see that she comes back online, and we'll continue with the conversation as we near the end of this particular series of the community voices.
Philip.
Yes, Grace, I can hear
Philip, I can get you very clear.
Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to submit on how we can cover this disease called child abuse. One, I am talking about we as the adults, if we are going to engage in child to adult talks, whereby we shall educate these children about the virus disadvantages of our actions to them. If we also engage ourselves and we have this adult talk between ourselves to see how we can protect our children from this disease called child abuse, gradually we shall eliminate this disease within ourselves. And in the end, we shall give perfect protection to our children. We shall provide good community to our children, because we as parents in the communities there, some of us are not educated. So by not educating them about these children, about the abuses we are throwing on these children, they may not understand it, and they will continue abusing them. So when we educate them, we shall automatically eliminate, because the parents will know that, one, when I abuse such a child, legal action can be taken about me. I am infringing on the right of my child. So gradually you find that the parents will start changing their attitude towards these children. Secondly, I can talk about, we identify the vulnerable boys and girls in our communities. There are some of these children who are going through nasty incidences, which we term as the child abuse, but they have no help or support. So we as the parents, if we identify such vulnerable children and we bring these matters maybe to the government officials, this disease called child abuse will be eradicated in the communities where we are. Even this issue of discriminating children, looking at other children being like they are not existing in the communities where we are. So if we also avoid discriminating children, I think gradually this child abuse will also be stopped within us, and we shall bring up good citizens in future. As we also talked about giving ourselves time, because when we give time to our children, there we are going to talk to them, because you see, sometimes the mistake we as parents do, we send these children to school and we think the teachers with whom these children interact, they are everything to these children. But by then we are making mistakes. Gone are the days where we used to leave these children hanging. With the parents, we have to work hand in hand with the teachers, maybe the LCs, the government officials around, such that we eradicate this abuse. Then again, I can also talk about you discipline your child thoughtfully. Like they were giving us scenarios here whereby the way we discipline our children, if we continue to discipline them the way we do it in our various communities, these are children who are going to grow up while being abused. So the way we talk to our children, if we continue to eradicate the harshful way we are going to discipline these children, automatically we are also going to change the attitudes of these children towards us, where the children will understand that indeed, as Afande said, my mother loves me, my father loves me, we show them love. And by then, gradually you find that this disease called child abuse is going to disappear amidst the communities. Then above everything, let's give our children environment or a peaceful space where these children are going to live. We as the parents, we introduce our children to churches. We introduce our children to mosques, whereby these children are taught moral. Because if we introduce these children to churches, to mosques, to cultural activities that will not expose them to abuse, you find that gradually, as these children are growing with the environment that we have provided for them, this child abuse automatically will be eradicated. And in the end, we shall have children whom we are going to grow up in a very good way. These are children who are going to be the Uganda of tomorrow. And these are children who will also bring their children who will be our grandchildren in a very good way, because they will know that for us, we were not abused. So our children should also grow up in a way we grew up. I don't know whether I am in the right track with you.
Thank you so much. And picking from where you are, children being in the right track. Molly, look, there is something we call family legacies, and many of the children, and indeed, I don't know, many of us when we're growing up, our parents are telling us, you see, for us, we are hunters, and you should be able to learn the hunting at a very early age so that you excel at that particular activity. We do farming and at digging. For us, we go there at 5 a.m. in the morning and we shall leave at 4 in the evening. They will tell you how they walked to school. They will tell you how they probably did not have shoes and so many other things. And they say we have to keep the strength of the family moving through the generations. And going contrary to that, particular parents will see it as abandoned family legacy. Molly, what do you say to such parents that still believe in family legacies that on the other side of the story might be cases of violence to the children as they grow up? Yes, Molly.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, of course, you talk about legacy, but we have something we call there's good legacy and there's bad legacy. Like Afande had said that if they are talking on your burial, what would they say? Would they say bad things or would they say good things? So legacy is in two ways. It is either bad or good. But in line with what you're asking, people, our parents who are still in, we call it the analog age. And for them, they believe that things they went through, they are the ones which have made them today. But you know, there's always they say that change is a fact of life. Yes, there are some things which were good about our parents' upbringing, the way of life, their lifestyle, culture, and the tradition. There are good things which are about those things, but also there are also negative things which have to do with discrimination and misuse and abuse, like we were saying. So the onus is on us to draw a line. You draw a line between as we grow, it is because the reason they call us adults, the reason we say that when someone is 18 and above they are adults is because they are able to disseminate, they are able to differentiate, they are able to draw a line between what is wrong and what is right. So there are many things I can appreciate about my parents, but I should be able to know that here this was good, this was bad. So the onus is on us to sieve out what was good, and we use it and propagate it for the future generation also, but also sieve out what was wrong and say, here, this was not right, this was not right, and then we put it aside, like how we talked about that practice of circumcision of women in the northern culture, and even other things that we see in our culture. So we should draw a line and choose what is right and what is wrong. We promote what is right, and what is wrong, we discourage it.
Thank you, Molly. And to you, Afande, I have a message here. And someone is saying...
excuse me, Philip. I beg to leave. I have a client who has been waiting for me, and I need to work on that lady. So I beg to leave, please.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for your time, and we appreciate the views you've given to this conversation. Thank you so much. Afande,
thank you so much.
Just as we get to close the conversation, someone asks, how do we work with children who are so naughty? You tell him to sit down, he stands up. You tell him to eat, he refuses. When you tell him not to eat, he steals the food. When you talk to him, he or she thinks you are weak. When you beat, he shows you he hasn't felt it. How should we punish these very naughty children? Listen, that goes to your Afande. It's a question from someone. I don't know what advice you can give this particular person who has very stubborn children that he thinks they might need to be subjected to some harsher kind of punishment. Yes, Afande.
Thank you very much, Philip, for that. And we have a good question. Yes. Have you ever heard about the stick and carrot? It's a good policy. We are not here as law enforcement and advocates for children's rights say that you leave them to do what they are doing, because that will be spoiling them. So stick and carrot is allowed. It has no crime by him. You have done is wrong, and this one has attracted boko. You do that one. Boko you put on the cabina. Nyama ya bule. Don't hit the head. Don't. You put you put on cabina and give. And these are human beings, because you see, for us we tell you that you love your children, but don't spoil them. When you spoil them, they will be selfish. They will be arrogant. They will be bad leaders, because you see, we believe that children of today make the world of tomorrow. And therefore, I know one of the common mistakes that is affecting and eating us in family is poor communication. Even as spouses, you may find that a father and a mother don't communicate. You can talk, but you don't communicate. There is a difference between talking and communication. Are you thorough? How are you communicating? The same thing to children. Children need to be communicated to them. Tell them this is wrong and it will affect you like this. You know, their head is born when it is a plain paper, and it's me and you and those around that child that write on those plain pages of a child. So when you don't keep writing on their plain pages, they will end up into that nonsense that you are saying. In law, children are not criminals, but they are just wrongdoers. No wonder we normally take them in children remand centers, not in cells. So in case you see that child is getting off head, becoming a problem, each district in Uganda has a Department of Child and Family Protection. You go there, interact with those officers. They have been trained on how to manage these children better than you, a parent who is caught up with culture, with religion, with your personal opinion. Your positionality is finishing you. But when you go at police and ask the in-charge child and family protection, they will tell you the truth. For example, bringing that kid, because you know one of our functions is basic counseling to couples, to children. Then we aim that every day we protect the integrity of family, because we know without family, there is no world, there is no community, there is no society. And it is being threatened every day, and the children, they form a big composition. Therefore, we don't take those heroes and the wonderful people for sake of it. What I can say is that children are not objects to be managed, but they are rather human beings who needs us to guide and nurture and mentor. Some parents, they think these are cows, these are houses that they need to manage here and there. No, these are issues of nurturing, parenting, and it starts, by the way, right from inception up to childhood. There are few parents here who will be listening us who don't know that parenting starts from the day you impregnate the mother. In the stomach, you need to go and tell that child that I love you before that child is born. And you take through all the stages of kindergarten, until of teenage, until adulthood. So that's what I can say about that. I hope it can guide here and there.
Thank you so much, Apande, for that guidance. And I know him and very many other parents have been guided on that particular subject of naughty children. Colleagues, thank you so much for joining the conversation. We have about 5 minutes to be out of here. I will give a minute to each of you to just give us your concluding remarks about this particular topic, or in that matter, recommendations to maybe the parents or whoever is in charge of children in line of child abuse. I'll start with you, Grace. Your final remarks on this topic.
Okay, thank you, Philip. It has been a great pleasure to be part of this conversation. I hope you're getting me very clear.
I have you clearly.
Okay, thank you. Once again, I've said it has been a great pleasure putting me in this conversation. The summary I can give to our parents out there is that children are a gift from God. The fact that we have them should not be a burden to us. The fact that we have them at our neighborhood, we also should not look at them as burdens to us. We should take them as our children. We take them as our friends. We call them whatever way we call them. But one thing we should understand is that the role of bringing these children up is the role of the community. I cannot say that my child should not be specifically brought up by me alone in a way I best understand. No, that is a wrong perception. My neighbor can bring up my child as long as the child, the neighbor is going to bring him or her in a good way, whereby the neighbor will not abuse his or her rights. That one I have no problem. When my child does something which the neighbor does not like, it's not about shouting on the child, but the neighbor bringing the child, as Afande said, if it means that the child has done something very bad, the role of punishing a child is not by only the parent. It is done by the community themselves. But the way you do it matters a lot. Lie the child down, beat them in a very good way, whereby the child will also understand that they have beaten me for the bad thing that I have done. But the child will not grow up that the way so-and-so has beaten me, I will never forgive him. The way so-and-so has beaten me, I will come and tell those things in our communities. We should leave them. But all in all, it is our role as the community, as the government, as the church leaders, as whoever is in the community, it is our role to see that these children are not abused in their rights. It is our role to see that the way we are going to bring up these children, they will be the good citizens. They are the people who are going to replace us tomorrow when we are no longer in service. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Grace, for that the amazing views you've given us. I don't know whether Molly is still out there to give us a final remark. Molly, are you still there? I can see still open.
Yes.
Yes, give us your final remark on this particular subject.
Okay, maybe like Master said, number one, I would say is what I call intentional parenting. When we are parenting, we should know that we're not parenting for ourselves only, but we should know that we're parenting people who are going to be future citizens, future husbands, future leaders, future parliamentarians. We're saying what happened yesterday. So how you parent your child, you should instill in them discipline and principles and moral principles, which you know that they are going to help them be a responsible and acceptable citizen tomorrow. Because a child can be okay in your home, you are okay. You can tolerate their bad manners and everything that they do because you are their parents. But remember that these children, this child or these children, they are going out tomorrow to be bosses, to be husbands, to be wives, to be secretaries, to be teachers, to be policemen, to be anything. So will will they be acceptable in society? Number two, when you are parenting a child, it's like how you see a factory. When you manufacture a product, as people in the community, by the time you release it, we expect that product to be 100% certified and qualified. So by the time members expect that child to be a product that is going to be beneficial, that is going to be consumable, that is going to add value and be of essence in the community. So when you release a child who is half baked, half trained, half everything, if these are the same things we are seeing, like we were saying, yesterday we saw people fighting in the parliament. These are men and women who are leaders, who are husbands, who are wives, who are MPs. Now, if I am a child at school and I see my father fighting in a parliament, and it is okay, So why won't I do a strike at home? Why won't I beat a teacher? Why won't I beat my wife? Because I'm taking my parent as a role model. So we should be careful knowing that whenever we are parenting, we're not parenting for ourselves, we're parenting even for the future generation. So that when your child is released in a community tomorrow, they will say, this is a good product. Many of us have traveled and we go to different places. There's a reason why you choose Renzol water over Shiba water. You choose Renzol water over other types of water that are there. So is your child going to be chosen as Renzol water, or they are going to be chosen as Kazeire, or maybe, I'm sorry to use company names, or maybe these other products that you might not see. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly, for that very powerful submission, and indeed the choice of the products and how you use them is entirely your choice. And we appreciate the views you give us. And finally, Afande Jackson, final word, what do you say to the people out there?
Wow, thank you very much for hosting me. Thank my facilitators for the great work done. I still emphasize that the way we talk to our children is the way they will talk to their peers, their age mates. Therefore, the whole game comes from you, father, mother, guardian. You are the marking guide of how to speak to these children, because they will transfer it to fellow children. The best inheritance or riches a parent can give his or her child is that few moments that you can be with him. It's not the building, it's not the ice cream or the shopping, but that great moment that you sit with a child and you tell them that you love them, you are their dad, you are their mother, you are their uncle, you are their what. You ask them their vision, their mission, and what do they want to be? Because I told you, they are not objects, but rather human beings who need to be nurtured. The world has changed. Uganda of yesterday take the community and village to raise a child. Uganda of today has become a global village. I don't know how tomorrow it will be. We must balance work, ability, and technology, because these children understand it better than us. Therefore, the moment we understand that, we shall be great. As a Christian, a father, and a member of Fathers Union, a responsible citizen, and a senior officer from Child and Family Protection, can say, as Uganda Police Force, we are committed to protect the children's right. But remember, as we began, policing begins with you. Be the child agent of that revolution that is aiming at seeing that we raise very responsible citizens. At Child and Family Protection Department, we have free toll numbers that we want to share with you. Wherever you see a child is suffering under abuse, kindly call us so that we can come and pick that child. Number one, that hotline is called Sauti. You can call 116. When you call that number, regardless of which number type of phone you have, as long as it is charged, you call that number 116. Tell us that a child here and there, we shall come and pick that child. Then we have a toll-free number. Our police toll-free number for children is 0800 199 195. We have police officers who are deployed there every day to receive those phone calls and ensure that we protect children. By the way, since 1995, when this department was established, we have saved very many lives. Finally, Philip, my friend, and Madrid, who looks for me, normally follow me up. I cannot go without leaving you the word of God. And this is in Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. If you can read that one, it can help you. That train up a child in a way he or she should go, even when he or she is old, should not depart into what you have taken him through. This is what I do every day as a parent, as a police officer, and as a senior citizen. And I hope if you can do the same, as Jesus started with story of disciples to impact the world globally today, you too can save the life of a child. Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you so much, Senior Superintendent of Police Jackson Mucunguzi, for your time, the views, and indeed for the guidance and advice you give to the parents and the children out there. And important to note is the toll-free line of the Child Protection Unit Department of the Uganda Police Force, and I will read it again for the benefit of the viewers. You have the Sauti line, that is 116. You can call it out in case you have any issues relating to child abuse in your community, but also you can reach police at 0800 199 195. Reach police and they will assist you in that particular case in your community. Once again, thank you so much, Jackson Mucunguzi, SSP, for your views and for your time. Thank you so much, Mole Busingye, for your views and for the time on the show. And thank you so much, Atibuni Grace, for your views and for the time you give to the conversation. And indeed, thank you so much to you, our viewers, for making time to view us, Community Voices Uganda on Civic Space TV. Special thanks to the Center for Constitutional Governance, and indeed special thanks to the people behind the machines for making sure this is put together and delivered to the public in good quality. I appreciate you, and from us we say good evening, and may you have freedom always.